Hi guys, welcome back to All Mormons Eat Jello, and today it's April 9th as I'm recording this, and we've got a ton of Mormons in the news stuff to talk about today, a little bit of church news stuff, and some funny tweets to share with you, so we're going to jump right in. But first off, make sure if you have not yet, go to allmormonseatjello.com. You can sign up there to get notified when we record a new video or send out a new post, so that you can be the first to get the best information available from us. Make sure you go to allmormonseatjello.com and you can sign up there. Just put in your email address and we'll send you the newest stuff immediately, and that way you never miss out on the newest and the best news and information possible. So let's start off with church news. A couple things I noticed. This was announced. They didn't do the statistical report during the church during General Conference. They did note that it would be on the website and it'd be available. So I saw this afterwards, after I recorded last week, but church membership has passed 16 million members. So congratulations to everybody, 16 million members. New baptisms was 340,000, 106 of those being children of record and 233 being convert baptisms. So that's pretty cool. Total number of wards and branches, 30,506. Total number of stakes, 3,341. And 421 missions, 67,049 missionaries, and 36,172 church service missionaries, 4 temple dedications last year, and 159 temples in operation. And then we have the ones that are announced and under construction as well. So that was pretty exciting. Another piece of news to note, the church just announced the new area leadership assignments that will begin on, let's see, I think it said August 1st is when those start. So you can go to mormonnewsroom.org and see who the new area presidency is for your area. I can tell you for my area, the new area president is going to be Kevin W. Pearson. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, that's the next church new things. The final thing is just yesterday was the very first Sunday with the new Elders Quorum format, with the combined Elders Quorum, and it was pretty cool. It was really neat. In our ward, it was combined, and our bishop taught it along with the outgoing high priest group leader and the outgoing Elders Quorum president, and it was really great. We just went through a lot of question and answer, talked about some of the things that are changing, some of the things that aren't changing, that remain the same, and it was just a good time. It was neat to have everybody there in the room and discussing things, and quite honestly, I thought it was cool because I was no longer the very, very young person in a high priest group. I actually felt like I kind of belonged because there was other guys my age that were in the room as well. So that was really cool personally for me. So that's as far as church news, some cool stuff. I'd love to hear how your first Sunday went, if you went to the new Elders Quorum or Relief Society, if you guys talked about ministering and how that's going to change. I know my wife said they had some really, really good conversations in Relief Society as well. So let's see, Mormons in the news. We've got a couple serious ones, and then we've got some funny ones, and some that are kind of in the middle of the two. So let's jump right in. We'll start with the more serious, and we'll go to the more humorous from there. So there's a couple accusations and lawsuits going around right now involving LDS members. The first, which is getting a lot of press, is the accusation against the former MTC president. Of sexual assault and rape and those types of things. And the thing that I want to point out about this, and just from the outset, I think the most important thing to say is, if it's true, then the law needs to do what the law needs to do. And of course, we don't condone that, and the church doesn't condone that. And I love the church referred to a prior statement when they were asked about this. And the church said, the church has great faith in the judicial system to determine the truth of these claims. Nevertheless, the church takes seriously its responsibility to hold its members accountable for their conduct with respect of the laws of God and man. And I think that really sums it up. I mean, there's a lot of people saying that the church swept this under the rug and everything else. And my experience with church service and being in leadership positions and associating with stake presidents and stuff, I will say, and I'm not saying everybody's perfect, but I will say the overwhelming majority of leaders and leadership in the church would absolutely take these things seriously, and that they would respond appropriately. Now, this is in the past. It happened a long time ago. I think they said 20 years ago, maybe more than that, 30 years ago. maybe, I think she was in the MTC in 84 or something like that. Yeah, at the MTC in 84. So this was 30 years ago. This was a long time ago. So I don't know what happened. I'm not saying that everybody did everything perfectly, but I can tell you my experiences of church leadership is that the leaders and the members do the right thing. And I can tell you that as a leader, when I was bishop, I knew what to do if something like this came. You know, I mean, I had issues of accusations, and we took them seriously, and we interviewed all parties, and we looked at the evidence, and we did everything we could. So those are things that happen. And I would say that the overwhelming majority of members do it appropriately, and quite frankly, the overwhelming majority of members act appropriately. I don't know this particular situation. I'm going to go with the church, what they said, that I trust that the court system and everything will do the appropriate thing, and they'll decide what the appropriate action is, and they'll review all the evidence and decide what happened. And I'm really grateful that I'm not the stake president or the church leader responsible for this. And I'm grateful that I'm not on the jury or the judge that has to decide this, because it's very touchy. And if something happened, I think we definitely need to take all of these accusations seriously. And if something happened, then the appropriate actions need to be taken. So that's in the news. That's happening a lot. So we'll just keep watching that. The next one, this one is pretty serious, not quite to the extent of the last one, but there's also a humorous side to the end of it, and I'll share that with you. There's also an article about a fertility doctor who's facing a lawsuit because he supposedly used his own sperm for somebody that came to his fertility clinic. And this is making a little bit of news because this doctor was a former mission and temple president. And again, I mean, I'm not the one responsible, thank goodness, for making these decisions. And I don't know if it just came out. I don't know how this happened. Well, I do know how it came out finally. But essentially, a patient that was undergoing artificial insemination was given this doctor's own sperm, and now they're filing a lawsuit because of it. And this gentleman had served as a mission president and also served as the temple president. So the funny thing about this, and I say funny because, I mean, it's something that shouldn't have happened, to be completely honest with you. But here's the funny part. They found out, this is how this was found out. They found out because a lady discovered or sent in a DNA sample to Ancestry.com, did AncestryDNA, and found out that the sample indicated that this obstetrician, this OB, was her father by DNA. And so it made me laugh because I read this, and my family and we watched Relative Race on BYU TV, and this season there was one where a gentleman, one of the contestants, found their father because of a DNA test, because of this DNA test. And I mean, it's a lawsuit and it's not a good thing, but I had to laugh and say, well, I don't think they're going to be featuring them on Relative Race. And then I see all these Ancestry stories or AncestryDNA story ads on TV. And again, I don't think that this is one of the stories that's going to be featured on there. And it's just, who would have thought, by doing an AncestryDNA test that, one, you would find out who your father is, and two, you would find out that it's the obstetrician that worked at the fertility clinic that helps your mom to conceive you. So that's kind of funny. But again, the lawsuit is going through, and I guess we'll find out what the results of that are. And I think it was, if indeed the case is found that this OB did it, I think it was at best poor judgment, at worst, negligent and fraud and everything else, which I'm sure is what they will find if they find that that's what happened. So anyways, so that's that one, a little less on the serious side, but still a little bit serious. The next one we found, this one made me laugh. Utah man gets prison time for theft of Mormon statue. Now, I don't live in Utah, so I didn't know about this, but apparently a Utah man was sentenced to 1 to 15 years in prison for stealing a bronze statue of Joseph Smith and Brigham Young from a business park in Salt Lake City in late May last year. So this is kind of humorous. I mean, it's like, of all the things you could steal, and how do you steal a statue? It says it's an 800-pound statue, so I mean, it's not like he just like put it in his pocket. I mean, this is a serious undertaking to steal this dang statue, and apparently he did it. So he's sentenced, and according to the court documents, they plan to cut it up and sell it for scrap metal. So apparently they were not reverencing the prophet Joseph Smith and the prophet Brigham Young. And because of it, they will now he will now be spending time in prison. All right, this next one made me laugh, and we've actually got a Twitter stake, best of Twitter stake, related to this one that we'll share here in a little bit. If you haven't seen this video, please go watch it. It's kind of funny. LDS golfer sinks hole-in-one at Masters, dislocates ankle during celebration. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine today. Actually, the one that encouraged or gave me the idea of starting this site. And he was a professional golfer for a period of time, and he was watching the Masters, and he watched the replay of this. He didn't see it live, but he was watching the par 3 tournament where this happened, and he saw the video. And so he hit a crazy hole-in-one, and then following the hole-in-one, he went to celebrate, and when he started running backwards, his foot buckled, and he dislocated his ankle. At which point he dropped to one knee, and a quick motion popped his ankle back into place. And and so it was hilarious because, you know, he injured himself, and people think that, you know, golf isn't that strenuous. But I mean, I was talking to my friend, like I said, he played pro golf, and he said that, you know, those kind of things happen, not that one necessarily. And he said the thing that's funny about it is he did it during the celebration. He's like, you know, I've seen people have torn their ACLs because their foot was just, they twisted weird, and where the ball was, they were standing weird, and it just caused an injury. But this one happened during the celebration, so that's pretty funny. It made me laugh to see that, and I hope he's okay. I'm sure he is if he popped it back in, I guess. But just kind of humorous to to hear about that. We'll get into a comment from LDS State Clerk on Twitter that made me laugh regarding that as well. Okay, now on to our last one here, and this is probably my favorite one I saw of Mormons in the news, and it just made me chuckle, made me laugh. And it is, the title of this article, and it was on KSL.com, Walmart's funeral potatoes are confusing everyone on the internet. Now, you and I know funeral potatoes are a staple of Mormon culture. I mean, it's just part of every potluck. It's part of every linger longer. It's part of every funeral or wedding or mission farewell or mission homecoming, you know, everything. We always have funeral potatoes. But it says Walmart's funeral potatoes are confusing everyone on the internet. So the humorous thing is Walmart's been running ads featuring the Salt Lake-based Augustin Farms dehydrated funeral potatoes, and it says that on the front of the package. Maybe you've seen some of these. I've never seen them, but they're advertising these, so they're doing ads, and people are seeing these, and so there's a lot of really hilarious comments that people have been posting, and it makes me laugh. You know, one person posted a picture of the ad and said, "That moment when you're bebopping along on Facebook and you come across funeral potatoes. What exactly are funeral potatoes? Is that a thing? I mean, I guess it is because Walmart's selling them. Am I crazy or is this weird?" So that's the first one. Another person shared the ad and said, "Is it just me or does anyone else find the name of this potato casserole mix disturbing? The backside says potatoes to die for. Now that's kind of funny." And then there's a picture of the actual, or no, that's, the actual ad has a picture of the funeral potatoes and it says free 2-day shipping. Then there's one more. It says, what are funeral potatoes? Is Facebook's algorithm threatening me? And so it's just funny to see the way people have responded to this, not knowing what funeral potatoes are. And I wonder if Walmart decided to pull those ads because of the confusing nature of them. But you and I know what funeral potatoes are, and we understand. And that makes these comments from these people even funnier because we are a peculiar people. We do have some peculiarities, and funeral potatoes apparently is one of them. Okay, so now let's move on to the best of Twitter stake. Lots of really good stuff this week. So the first one was the Cultural Hall. So at the Cultural Hall, they posted a picture, and this is funny to me because my family just watched this movie. The movie Up. You have the kid, what's his name, Ronald, and then the old guy, and I can't remember his name. I should. Something and Ellie. Ellie and I can't remember. And I just watched it with my kids. My kids cried through the whole thing, just so you know, at the end. They were so sad. But my son's that way. He's just really sweet and just worries about things, and so he started crying. But they posted a picture of the two of them side by side. This young kid, this young scout type kid, and then this old guy with the walker, with the four stands and the golf balls on it, and grumpy. And it says, and in the next elders quorum meeting. And so that was funny because that's the way that they feel it is. And personally, as a high priest, I am a little bit offended by the stereotype, but that's okay. That's one of the peculiarities of Mormon culture, is that stereotype of the high priest being old guys. And I certainly don't feel like I fit that mold. But it does make me laugh. All right, so going back to Tony Finau, the golfer who dislocated his ankle, LDS state clerk said he shared the post about that and the video, and then he said the Mormon golfer who hit a hole-in-one dislocated his ankle celebrating, then popped it back in himself. He learned that playing church basketball. That's a minor injury in church ball, so I'm pretty sure it made him who he is today. And so I thought that was a funny way to tie in church culture. With a Mormon in the news is that idea of learning that from church basketball and how intense church basketball can be. All right, the next one, Mormonger, so Mormonger, quoted the scriptures and said, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." And then he wrote below that, "All the children under 8 come out and stone her to death." And it made me laugh because it's like, oh yeah, without sin, and just that mentality of children under 8 cannot sin, so they would be ones that could cast the first stone. However, I will say that my 5-year-old, while he is not baptized and not accountable for his actions yet, he definitely knows when he's doing something wrong and when he's not supposed to be doing something. So there is that. Let's see. Another one from LDS State Clerk real quick. He said, and this is in reference to conference last week, and I think Elder Holland's comment probably a little bit. He said, "Just walked by my ministering family in the hall and said hi. Ministering done for this quarter, check." So that made me laugh. And one of the things that I thought was hilarious as we were talking yesterday in Elders Quorum was the fact that while everybody's like, oh, home teaching and visiting teaching are done, no, they're still there. Like, you're still doing it. You're still taking care of people. We're just not calling it that. So it's kind of funny. And then the final one is, and this kind of ties into, I was going to share with you a post I wrote this week. We put together a post called 5 Hilarious LDS Twitter Accounts You Must Be Following. And we highlighted some of the funniest people on Twitter, and a lot of them find their way onto this Best of the Twitter Stake. So I shared that on Twitter and tagged all the people that were in it. And so one of the people that I tagged in it is the Twitter name is LDS Young Women's Prez. So LDS YWPRES. And that was a bird that just hit my window. That was really funny. I don't know if you can hear that on the video, but a bird just like slammed into my window and then bounced off. So that was funny. So she shared that. And if you look at, well, shoot, I should have pulled that up. But she essentially said she's a young single adult. And this is what her bio says. If you go look at her bio on Twitter, she's a young single adult who has been a primary president and now a young women's president. And so she shared that post that I shared of this article of the 5 hilarious Mormon Twitter accounts you must be following. And she commented and said, "Oh man, if guys actually fell in love with girls with humor, I would be so married thanks to this." And that just cracked me up. It's, to me, it was the tweet of the week. It was hilarious. And I even responded to her and said, that's totally making Best of the Twitter Stake next week, because that was hilarious. Just made me laugh. Just that humor. And I certainly hope, LDS Young Women's President, that you do find somebody to marry, and that hopefully maybe this video and us sharing you on that article help in that endeavor. So with that, just to remind, just to tell you, yes, I wrote that post last week. Go check it out. I've got 5 of the funniest, most hilarious LDS Twitter accounts that you must be following. I also share, I think, 5 or 6 honorable mentions, and there was a couple of the honorable mentions that were a little bit offended that they were an honorable mention. That's okay. You know, I just said it was 5 of the ones you should be watching, not all of them. There's a lot of funny people on Twitter, but that's a good starting point. So go ahead and go check that out. You can find it at allmormonseatjello.com/best LDS Twitter. That's where you can find that. And as far as brought to you today, the resource that I want to share with you today is one of the absolute best LDS biographies I have ever read, and it is the biography of President Henry B. Eyring. It's called I Will Lead You Along. It's an absolute fantastic book. I read it while I was serving as bishop. I learned a ton from that book about following the Spirit and about receiving revelation and managing and balancing church and family and work and everything else. So I absolutely highly recommend that book to you. It's really, really good. The cool part about this book is they draw heavily on the fact that on President Eyring's own journal entries. And so it's a lot of in his own words and a lot of sharing what he thought during the experiences of his life. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. Go check it out. It's a great book. It's pretty big. It's pretty long, but it goes fast. Like, it's a really, really good read, and you'll really like it. You can find that. I made an easy link for you. allmormonseatjello.com/Eyring-bio. So Eyring-bio, EYRINGBIO. And so until next time, guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure that you go to allmormonseatjello.com, sign up, enter your email there to get notified of the most recent videos, posts, and everything else that's going on. And remember, until we talk again, remember to take the gospel seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Have a good time. Be willing to laugh at the peculiarities of being LDS, because there are some peculiarities, I can't even say that word right now, to being LDS. So have a great week, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.